And welcome, everyone. It is Tuesday, February 1st. We're already in February here. Already in February. And you are tuned in to Full Press Hockey Weekly here on YouTube.com, Full Press Coverage, Twitch.tv/Full Press Coverage, Twitter.com/Full Press NHL, Facebook.com Full Press NHL, and anywhere you get your favorite shows. Mike Straw here. As always, Chris Wassel, Jim Biringer. Guys, it's going to be a fun night tonight. Fun things to talk about, but we'll start with how you guys feeling outside of your crap hole Devils organization?
Oh, you mean the crap hole Devils organization that's losing 4-0 right now?
Yeah, it's a good night right now overall.
Yeah, it really is. They've given up 8 straight goals to the Leafs. I mean, I don't know. I mean, other than that, I mean, you know,
pretty good.
Feeling pretty good. There's a lot of good other hockey out there besides the shitty Devils. So,
Chris, how you doing? We see how Jim's doing.
You know what? I joked with this with Jim. Maybe it's a blessing I don't have MSG and may never see MSG again because it's become that bad. Oh, by the way, the other tenant of MSG, technically by a post game and such stance, like the New York Giants, might get sued by the NFL, a certain coach that thinks he was wrong. So yeah, they're doing. It's just a wonderful week for fan. I'm waiting for the inevitable DWI to come from a Mets employee just to make this a trifecta.
I just want to say this is why you should never be a fan of any New York area team. And I can say this out of the fact that I am a diehard, lifelong New York Knicks fan because reasons that still escape me. So I understand being a fan of teams in that area and how disappointing it can be. But I have limited myself to one team in that area. But we're not here to talk about that sport. We're not here to talk about NBA. We're here to talk about hockey. And there's a lot to get to tonight on tonight's show. Before we get into more on tonight's show, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitch, share the video, share the stream. You can watch it on demand anytime at youtube.com, Full Press Coverage. Tonight, we are going to be talking the last chance of the Arizona Coyotes, the likely last chance. There's no way it's not. Teams that have been disappointing, not disappointing, teams that have been playing really well, but probably shouldn't be getting all the hype they are, and teams that are playing really well and kind of are being overlooked. But we're going to start with a small player who made his way from California, from Silicon Valley all the way up to Edmonton, Alberta. And that's Evander Kane. And we're not going to spend a lot of time on this because we all knew this was coming. But I want to know your opinion, and we'll start with you, Chris. When he was talking to the press after signing his 1-year contract with the Oilers and talking about how he views himself as a locker room leader, what was your thought other than to go, ha?
You know, there's a card game I remember very well playing in college.
Did it start with a B and end with a T?
Yes. That one. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, it's like sudden little case of the allergies there. So maybe sinus problem or something, but it just doesn't seem right as I throw my tracksuit sweatpants out into the arena here. You know what? Sometimes people just don't learn, and in Evander Kane's case especially, less is more. Just shut up while you're ahead of the game. You're still playing in the NHL. Just say whatever cliche thing, you know, do the John Tortorella, 30-second press conference,
Perfect.
and be done with it.
And I'm perfect. That's kind of how I feel. What do you think, Jim? What was your thought when you heard his comments, read his comments, or what have you?
Well, I mean, I was watching it live when it happened, so I was like, okay, this guy thinks he's the locker room leader. Then let's go ask San Jose, Buffalo, Winnipeg about / Atlanta what he was like in the locker room, because I know some guys didn't like him, some guys liked him, but I mean, to me, Edmonton, this wasn't the move they needed to make. The team was already top 10 offense in the league. Yeah, he scored in his first game, but he didn't do anything against Ottawa, and you can clearly see the guy hasn't played at hockey in a while. Yeah, playing with McDavid, Draisaitl, okay, you can move him anywhere, but they have bigger holes to fill with goaltending and defense. I just didn't think this was the move they needed to make. Yeah, it's great. When he's on his game, he's a great 30-goal scorer. He's a great guy, but it's too much baggage with this guy, and you didn't really need to bring him. The biggest question for me...
Hopefully the Oilers fly southwest.
Right, exactly. The biggest thing for me, which I have yet to hear confirmed or has anybody even found out, what's this dude's vaccination status? Because before he went, because he, was down in the minors, really nobody knew anything, because, you got to be vaccinated playing Canada. So I'm guessing he got the job done to get vaccinated, because prior to him playing with the Sharks, he wasn't.
That'd be my assumption. That would be my assumption as to why there was a hang up on the deal becoming official.
Right.
Who really knows? But my assumption is that he's vaccinated.
I mean, that's just a guess of mine. I don't know, but no one's really even asked him or asked a comment or even said anything. I'm just guessing it's why they signed him and stuff. But other teams could have used him. The Oilers didn't need him. But, hey, you know what? Ken Holland put this team in position this year to struggle and with the goaltending, and they rely on Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen, and this is what you get.
Yeah, and it's a team that, as of now, sits outside the playoffs, sits just a point behind Calgary for that second wild card. Calgary has one game in hand, but it's not... If you're going to put money on anybody right now, you're putting money. Like if you're putting money on between those two teams and maybe throw Dallas in there, you're putting money on Calgary. Yeah. Edmonton just can't seem to get out of their own way. They can't figure things out. They're just. I mean, their goal differential is only 2. They just can't. You have 2 of the best players in the world right now in Draisaitl and McDavid, and you're going to let them go another year without even a deep playoff run. So that's on them. It doesn't really bother me too much. But what's starting to get annoying? And I don't know how it's finally gotten to that point for me. It took this long. But the saga that I feel we talk about too much, and that's Arizona. The Arizona Coyotes last year, there are a lot of issues with them not paying the money they owe to the city of Glendale. Last year, they made a $1.7 billion arena and entertainment district proposal for Tempe, Arizona. Mm-hmm. And that, as of January 10th, was rejected by... They don't have no support. They had nowhere near the amount of support needed in the city council to approve their plan, which... makes sense, because how are you going to approve that much for an organization plagued by financial woes, who constantly bounces ownership to ownership, can't do anything right, can't get out of their own way? And now comes word that they're negotiating, and it was confirmed by the university. I don't even want to say this.
Do it. Just say it.
Negotiating to play at a 5,000 seat arena.
Tailgaters heaven.
I want to put this in perspective. The National Lacrosse League outdraws that every week in every city they have.
Ooh, that's bad. That's weird.
So they will be there's some max capacity, less than the National
because those Buffalo
Lacrosse
numbers are very solid for the NL.
Yeah, Buffalo, Colorado. Calgary.
Oof.
New
Yeah, they're
York does
awesome.
pretty well too.
New York's, but not on that level of Buffalo.
No,
Buffalo is just ridiculous.
But the Arizona Coyotes playing at the campus, potentially short-term solution of 4 years.
I love short term. That yeah. Three
Guys,
to 4 years.
This is totally the last chance for Arizona, right? If they can't, if this happens, one, there's no way they play there for 4 years. They might say it's a 4-year agreement, but I guarantee you the league gives them 1 season to figure it out, and then a max of 3 if they have shovels in the ground. But they have 1 season to figure it out because they are not going to have a league, one of the big 4 in North America, playing in an arena that max is 5,000 people. There's no way. This has to be the last chance. You'd agree?
I agree with that for sure. Has to be the last chance. I mean, it was funny because I was listening to Aaron Ward the other day. He was saying, imagine if Bettman put this much effort into other places that he does with Arizona. I understand, TV market and everything, but this team isn't good. This team shed payroll, shed salary, getting guys off their payroll, bringing on contracts that'll expire at the end of the year. We don't know what the owner wants to do. Apparently, he's bad. He doesn't know what he's doing for business. General manager seems to have no idea what this team wants to do, what kind of direction it wants to go to. You're going to get rid of Jacob Tricker, and you're looking to get rid of more guys. This has to be it. It's go to sleep time in Arizona for the Coyotes because they had to figure something out. It's a shame they couldn't get in with the Suns down in downtown Phoenix because that would have worked for them better. That I understand the original arena when they were there, they had poor sight lines, but you know what?
Still, it was a nice. It was a nice place though.
It was still a nice place. It could have
worked.
It definitely could have worked for sure, no doubt. That place was packed when they had those 2 playoff runs when they first moved down from Winnipeg. But the thing is, this team isn't good. You got to put it in another market. And apparently reports today coming out, if you didn't read it, Sean Shapiro in The Athletic saying that organizations around the league are frustrated with the fact that the Coyotes are going to be playing in a 5,000-seat arena next year. They don't know what it's going to do for HRR, salary cap-wise. That's really going to look bad for business. I mean, you just can't have it. You can't have one of your teams being a minor league. If that's the case, then you got to figure out a way to relocate them. But they don't want to do it because it means they failed in Arizona. But sometimes you got to take the losses and go someplace else.
I mean, let's put it this way. The Arizona Coyotes of the National Hockey League would be playing at an arena that seats less than their AHL affiliate in Tucson. And it's not like by a few hundred. Half. If I'm every other owner in this league, people need to remember, the commissioner works for them. It's not the other way around. If 31 other owners go to Bettman and say, this can't be allowed to happen, it won't happen. And I kind of feel that's where we might get. Because this is turning into an absolute it's a joke. Do I feel bad for the fans that they do have? Of course. Because we all know every league, even in Atlanta, there were diehard Thrashers fans. They're there, it's just not enough of them. But at this point, I mean, it's been 26 years. You just got to chalk it up to, sorry. I was always on board with give them another chance. But when you yearly miss your payments, your lease payments, miss your tax bills, intentionally put out poor product on the ice after poor product, get rid of any name player you can, not build around stars when they were in their prime, just dump anybody rather than pay them a contract. You get to the point you have to do something. And granted, to be fair, I'd rather see them play in a 5,000 seat arena than go to Houston or anywhere in Texas. But you got to think it's only a matter of time. Like there are ready buildings, and I guarantee you an ownership group that will bring them. We already know about Quebec City, but
That ain't happening.
it's not happening. But hell, there are ready places in cities, and I'm not going to talk about Houston, but in cities like Kansas City, in cities like Milwaukee, that would jump right in, have 10 to 20, infinite amount more support than what Arizona ever had. More stability, better arena, better everything. And it's just... I just don't get how, after this long of a time, how the ownership, every other owner, wants to continue down this path. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, I don't think they're going to put another team in Canada at all. But I do think that Kansas City, Milwaukee would be two incredible options. I also think Portland, but I don't know if they'd do it after just putting another team in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know if they'd go from one team to three in a matter of like 2 years.
I mean, it could work. I mean, what about this? I mean, I know you never want to have a contract a team, but that kind of has to be an option right now. I think maybe go back to 31 and see where we can go from there, and like put these players on a chance for winning, to be in a winning team, because you got to reset the market and figure out where you're going to go, because you don't know if it's going to work with this same team in another place if you just relocate. What if you contract for a year, take a break, and say, okay, where can we put an expansion team?
In a way that could work. I think the owners I think would be more onto that, solely because then you can charge that expansion fee again.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You get that hype of the expansion, because we all know relocation fee is going to, at this point, is going to be pennies on the dollar to get them the hell out of there.
You may have to be like the Colts and just bail from Baltimore when you took the Mayflower.
Put another team in California. I don't care. Put a team in San Francisco. They got a beautiful new arena. Like, I don't care anymore. Like, just get them out of there. I'm just so over.
I'm really over it too. Like, this is just getting ridiculous to the point.
Every year it's the same thing, and it's just, now it's gotten from, oh, that's too bad, to it's a joke.
Seriously, big time joke.
Exactly. See, more people want Kansas City. Give me Kansas City all day. Just, I don't know. It's just,
it's horrible.
It's frustrating. It's stupid. And I know there was always talk about, like, well, what if in 15? What if Buffalo would have won the lottery? McDavid would have went to the Sabres, and then Eichel would have went to Arizona. Wouldn't have changed a damn thing.
Mm-mm.
I think the only thing that might have changed fortunes in Arizona is if Austin Matthews ended up there.
Yeah,
that's
about
the only
it.
thing. But even that is a stretch in my mind at this point.
Yeah, but you know what? You would have had a player to build around, and the guy probably
they would have traded him before his entry level would have been up.
Probably. He probably still would have been probably still landed on the Leafs somehow.
Yeah.
Oops.
But
oops.
Now, let's move away from the Coyotes and that mess to talk about teams that are playing well. That's kind of what I want to focus on the rest of this show. We're going to start out, though, with teams that are playing well that are kind of flying under the radar despite playing as good as they are and deserve the respect of fans. Jim, what's one team, or two, whatever you have, that stands out to you as a team that is playing really well, but people don't really seem to take them as big of a threat as they might as they should?
I got two teams in the Central right now, the Minnesota Wild and Nashville Predators. Both teams are playing really well right now. Both teams battling, mixing it up with, Colorado looking for the top spot, and St. Louis is in that mix too. But you gotta, like what the Wild are doing, Billy Guerin putting a good team together, Dean Evison, great coach. No one thought he was gonna be what he is right now with this Wild team. You got guys producing, and then with Nashville, everybody thought they'd take a step back this year. We weren't sure what we were gonna get. You got Forsberg producing, you got Granlund producing.
There's one guy who didn't think they'd take a step back, and he's on this show.
Yep. And then you got Duchesne and Johansson, and that's the biggest difference, I think, in this Nashville team this year is those two guys are producing.
What day is it? It's Tuesday, right?
It is Tuesday.
It's Forsberg Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday for Forsberg.
It is one of the most hilarious things. We happen to find out that there was a legitimate, weird link to Forsberg being motivated to score on Tuesdays. Apparently, every time Forsberg scores a goal or gets a point on Tuesday, the fans get a free taco from whatever local taco place. I mean, it's
good.
That's how much it's caught on. But all joking aside, obviously UC Saros, I had as an early MVP candidate. On the year, just because he really did carry this team for quite a while until Duchesne got going, and obviously Forsberg is now healthy, but they're a dangerous team. I mean, Carolina found that out last year in the first round and nearly lost. I mean, let's face it, by then Nashville was completely depleted. It was like Saros against the world, and he was able to keep them in that. I mean, they almost pulled it off. Almost.
Well, don't forget, Rene shut him out in his final game of the regular season
to get them in.
And to get them in, and then they just carried that momentum into the playoffs in that first round. So, I mean, it's kind of weird because, they traded Ellis. You're like, oh, okay, let's see how the transition is. But this team, I think Duchesne and Johansson having a bounce-back year has definitely helped this team. And, a guy that they want to get rid of, brought back, wasn't sure what they're going to do with Granlund putting up points too. So, I think they're clicking right now. If those guys aren't producing, I don't know if Nashville is where they are.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing.
Yeah.
Minnesota has enough depth to be able to absorb what they have, and then I think tonight even they're without Dumba, and I believe is it one other player? I believe Spurgeon.
Yeah, and
you talk out again.
That Minnesota depth is what I think is
it's crazy,
surprising to people because you got a guy like Marcus Foligno, who is going to hit 20 goals this year.
Was he a Buffalo Sabre?
Everyone was a Buffalo Sabre.
He's got a point. I mean, everybody was a. All right, here you go. This was the one guy I always said that if he ever got a chance playing in a top six and could not try and kill everybody, he would be really good. And that's Ryan Hartman.
Yeah.
I mean, he's broken out and he's on his way. I mean, he's found the perfect role. Maybe the Nathan Bastian role, perhaps for Devils. Maybe there's hope. I'm really stretching it really, really far here, really good New Jersey, saltwater taffy. But all joking aside, I mean, look, it's worked out extremely well in Minnesota. They have a goaltending controversy in the middle of all this, which is kind of fascinating in a way. Kaapo Kähkönen's found the switch.
Yeah.
And it's an exact flip-flop from last year where literally Kähkönen couldn't stop anything and Talbot was playing like... Yeah, I know. It's like Freaky Friday in reverse.
And you talk about Minnesota, and here's the thing I don't think people understand. Sure, they sit third. People look at the standings and they're like, oh, they're in third in their division. Yeah, look at it a bit closer. They sit at 57 points in 40 games. Colorado is 67 and 43. Yeah. Colorado's Colorado. We know Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado 17 games at home winning, 10 game winning.
10 games in a row.
We know who they are.
But Minnesota, 5 games less than the Pacific leading Vegas Golden Knights, have 2 more points than them. That is how you put it into perspective, because everybody automatically throws Vegas, and to be fair, the way they've played over the past 2 months or so, for the most part, has kind of earned that second best team in the West thing. But everybody just assumes Vegas is that second best team in the West. But when you look at how Minnesota's played, they are clearly the second best team in the West.
Yeah, and nobody's talking about them.
And another team nobody's talking about, I mean, you did bring them up a little bit, and I'm going to stick in the Central to me, is St. Louis, because they're in a wild card spot. Because of how stacked the top 4 of that Central is, they're playing well. They're finally getting solid goaltending. Chris and I talked about it last week. They're finally getting solid goaltending that they weren't getting from Binnington. They're producing. Tarasenko looks like he's enjoying it again. It's just Rob Thomas looks good every time he's on the ice to me. Kyrou is just, and he's way better than Caillou. You know,
was waiting for it. I was waiting for it, and don't forget Ivan Barbashev as well.
Yeah,
Jesus Christmas.
Buchnevich has looked fantastic in this with this team.
Yeah, at one point they had the 3 Russians line going. I mean,
they're another team that's not getting talked about because of where they sit in the standings. Because a lot of people just assume
it's Colorado's world, and that's it.
Yeah, but it's Colorado. We talked about it last week. They are in this cup or bust moment. But for all of us who watch the games, it's hard to not see a team like a Minnesota or like a St. Louis coming in and going, nah, piss off, our turn. Because they play just as well. They just don't have these names or aren't going on these hot streaks against. Admittedly, like Colorado, a big part of this 10-game winning streak is look at some of the opponents they've played. Shit. Bottom of the barrel. But that's what great teams do, though. They dominate the bad teams.
But they've also beaten some good teams along the way as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're not going to sit at 67 points.
No.
Second in the NHL overall if you're not taking care of business against the good teams. There is one team, though, speaking of good teams from the East. And this one, I don't know if I could say they've been overlooked, but I'm going to. And I feel like even though they're 2-time defending Cup champs, Tampa Bay isn't getting the respect. Yeah. They're not getting as much attention as they probably should be because a lot of it has been on Florida, rightfully so, after the Joel Quenneville garbage, and he got out of there, and everybody's like, oh, well, they're going to fall because Quenneville. No! Because Jonathan Huberdeau put some damn respect on his name.
Yo,
I went on a rant about him last week. He leads the league in points now.
Art Ross Hart Trophy.
Put respect on Hubie. Plain and simple. But seriously, though, like Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, I just feel like is a team that no one really wants to talk about them this year, even though they've won the Cup 2 years in a row, and they're still just as good.
Maybe that's a good thing for the Lightning. No
I think this is the best thing that could have happened for them.
Yeah, no pressure on them right now. Kucherov coming back, he's off COVID list. He's playing ridiculous from the injury. They're definitely going to try to upgrade that third line for sure. I mean, Vasilevsky's still putting together another Vasilevsky season. But it feels like, you got to play 2 Tampa Bay Lightning teams. The Tampa Bay Lightning team and then Andre Vasilevsky when he's in net because nothing gets by him. This guy is unbelievable. And the thing is, you don't want to finish second in that division. You don't. Like, it's going to be a gauntlet just to get to the conference final because it's just going to be a war whoever you play.
Toronto and Tampa, other than the fact you won't know who's who because their jerseys are the same thing, that first round playoffs should be like every game. I honestly, even with Vasilevsky being Vasilevsky, that's a first round series where I expect every game to be like 5-4.
Tampa won't allow it to get to 5-4 every game. We saw that last year against Florida.
Yeah, it's just Tampa, I don't know, they're flying under the radar. Steven Stamkos is another player. I think people just overlook how great of a player he truly is because of his injury issues in the past. But when he's healthy like he is now and he's playing the way he is now, he's just as great. I mean, Victor Hedman is Victor Hedman. I mean, it's insane to think how a team that's won the Cup 2 years in a row can be overlooked, but that's where I feel like Tampa Bay is. Okay, on the flip side of things, and I already know where me and Chris will argue. Teams that are playing really well this season that are being overhyped. And before Chris and I argue, Jim, I'm going to let you start.
Overhyped.
They're playing really well. They're sitting pretty in the standings. But maybe they're being talked about as contenders a little bit too much.
I mean, I kind of know where Chris might go with this. I think he might start at the top of the Metro Division with the Carolina Hurricanes. That's one. I kind of figured that for you, no doubt. I don't know if they're being overhyped. I think they're exactly where they should be because of where everybody expected them to be in that team, and no one really knew what they were going to get from Tony Giangelo. And I think this team is playing better than people expected them because no one knew what they were going to get. Anderson, Ronta, all that stuff. But for me, I got to look out west. Pacific really is Anaheim. I think they're getting a little bit overhyped. I know Zegras and Troy Terry are doing their thing. John Gibson's stealing them games, but I just don't know how much longer they're going to be able to hold on in that Pacific Division because Calgary's starting to charge, and they're starting to play better than they were before COVID. And I just don't know if Anaheim can hang on. I like their team, I really, really do, but I just don't know if they can hang on.
I think Anaheim can hang on because of John Gibson. I think John Gibson might be the most underrated goalie in the league.
Probably is.
I don't think people understand how good he is because of the fact of what was put in front of him for the last handful of years. Like a major waste of prime career. But go on, Chris. Go on.
Go ahead.
Go,
Chris.
Chris.
You know where I'm going with this.
Go. I'm going to argue. Go.
We had the fundamental theory of the PDO wave, which we talked about on last week's show, which actually was a lot of fun because it turns out people kind of sided with me based on last year's El Foldo by this team against, ironically, the Carolina Hurricanes. Go figure how that worked. Remember that play-in round thing? How well that went? The cameo appearance, and then last year they were supposed to make the playoffs.
Oh,
they didn't.
I know where he's going.
But we brought in the taxi driver, and apparently the taxi driver has them at the top of the division because the division's not as good as we thought it would be.
Do you know why they're there, Chris?
Yeah,
Chris
I know
Wassel?
why they're there. It's because Chris Kreider's on freaking an obscene amount of something. That's a mystery to the world. Oh, it's his 8th year of Calder Trophy consideration, by the way.
It's also because they have the 2021-22 Jack Adams winner, Gerard Gallant.
He ain't winning it.
He ain't winning it.
As coach.
He ain't winning that.
Okay, remember how you guys were saying I was being too hard on Seattle and Dave Hackstall? Yeah, I'm bringing it right back to that son of a bitch.
Oh wow, we're just gonna tie it all in.
Yeah, he tied it all in.
Wait. Can we just jokingly call Seattle overhyped just because we thought they were going to be a bubble team and they're so not close to even a bubble team?
No. Don't say we.
No, I.
Oh no, it was we, because we did not. Ooh.
Dave Hackstall is trash.
And I agreed with you because I saw it firsthand. I was too close. I was right up the turnpike. But
Gerard Gallant, wherever he goes, one is always a scapegoat for some stupid reason. 2, he knows how to put his players in situations to succeed. Plain and simple. The Rangers, are they a cup contender? Are they going to make it to the final? No. Are they going to get out of the first round? If I'm seeing Rangers in Pittsburgh in the first round, I'm going Rangers as of right now. Granted, Pittsburgh, you got Crosby, you got a healthy Malkin. Anything can happen with those two.
Goaltending for them in the playoffs the last couple of years has not been the greatest.
But I'm taking the Rangers
is an absolute toss-up.
At the end of the day, even though the Hurricanes do have 2 points over the Rangers, 4 games in hand right now, at the end of the day, I still think the Rangers get that division. and I still see them getting out of a first round series no matter who they face. And that's because of Gallant putting them in positions to succeed. So I don't think they're overhyped. Like, Rangers fans are going to say this is a cup contending team. But Rangers fans also think that every player on their team is untouchable.
If you
Wayne Gretzky could be up for trade again in his prime from Edmonton, and they wouldn't want to depart with Panarin for him, which...
Yeah, if you're subjected to MSG, like I know a number of my friends are, that is all they have heard. Like, I
have it here in Buffalo. That's because Sabres. But I think overall, in the grand scheme of things, Rangers fans notwithstanding, because rose-colored glasses and jadedness and things like that, I think the Rangers are exactly where.
By the way, guys, I just want to let you know, if it's Forsberg Tuesday and we're doing this show,
he scored.
Just scored. Yup.
Nice.
That anytime goal on Tuesday is the most automatic freaking bet in hockey.
I'm just sad that the Rangers took a 3-2 lead on Florida when I put that 60-minute money line.
Hey, you know what though? It's early.
Yeah, it's still late. It's late in the second.
The only thing you get kind of damaged by, and of course it had to be that freaking arrogant prick Kreider.
You mean the guy you said was going to fall off and then he scores again?
Well, look at this. Another goal that basically goes off of him.
And it doesn't matter. Do you know why?
They don't say how, they say how many.
I know.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Because Gallant put him in a spot to succeed, which is what he does with all his players.
Here, sit in front of the net and take this puck up here.
And Thomas Holmstrom made a 20-year career out of that.
He did make a 20-year career out of it. He did
Just
make it
sit
20
there.
years. Well,
Good God, it's scary but true.
But not only that, but look, Lafreniere got his 10th tonight as well. But it also helps when you have a world-class goaltender there as well, and Igor Shesterkin, who's having a bounce-back year for the Rangers.
Yeah, Spencer Knight is not a world-class goalie.
No, he's not.
Oh, that's so bad tonight.
But for the Rangers, just real quick, I had said, like, going into this season, it was playoffs or bust because of what they did and all the changes that they made. But if you look at their trajectory, this was the same trajectory they would have been on if they just kept everything the same, because this was the year that they were supposed to take the next step towards the playoffs. It helps having Gallant because he's a world-class coach. It's having everybody play in the right situations. And I think they made the part with one of their former first-round picks to upgrade their forward or reunite with JT Miller or get a Chikrin in there just because they need to.
Chikrin's a name that, I totally could see them being
it keeps buzzing. Now here's the bizarre part for what it's worth. Now, of course, this could just be lip service, but JT Miller has flatly denied any and all. Like, he's like, no, I'm happy here. I want to stay here. I want to. Now, of course, that can be the kiss of death, as it often is in the NHL. But it seems like he genuinely wants to stay in Vancouver. And look, I'm not going to argue with him. You put him back in New York, and it's a gong show again.
Yeah, it probably is.
Because look, let's be honest. JT Miller is not a defensively responsible player, and I say that in the kindest of ways. Because if you look like,
that's some players.
If you look at Evolving Wild's like RAPM chart, it's so bad that they had to put extra lines in for shading to illustrate how bad defensively he is.
But that's why he's working out so well in Vancouver, because he's
allowed to play offense.
He's allowed to play offense. Like, the problem is where you're going to slot him in New York. I mean, is he going to be a third-line center that has to have defensive responsibilities? That's not where you're going to want him if you're in New York. But Gallant could probably make him play defense and get the most out of him. We don't know.
Who knows?
We don't know, but it's going to be interesting because maybe Miller doesn't move. Maybe they get a guy like Garland who's got a nice contract too. They could bring him in. There's so many options the Rangers could go. All I know is that they're on the right trajectory, and yes, their analytics are poor. I mean, you look at their underlying numbers. This team should not be winning as many games as they are because of their underlying.
No, but at the end of the day, like I get that argument 100%.
But it doesn't matter because it's all paper
not the whole
stuff.
Story. Exactly. It's not the whole story. When you have a goalie like Shesterkin who can steal a game, you have a offensive defenseman wizard, all around defenseman wizard in Adam Fox, who just, does what he wants. You do have Panarin. And again, you got Chris Kreider, the legendary net front presence of the NHL.
PDO warrior.
They're going to name an award after him for his net front presence.
What, the David Clarkson Memorial?
I don't care. They're going to do it. When he hits 40 goals this year and you melt.
Well, I mean, he's going to hit 40 barring some kind of injury ninja treatment.
And who would have caused that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
All right. In all seriousness, and this is something that's interesting, and this does bear repeating. I don't know what kind of effect this will have with. For example, the Rangers are off for basically the next 2 weeks, guys.
A lot of teams are.
Yeah, so you have to. This is going to be something that we are going to look at in the next few weeks with some of these teams being off as long as they are. What kind of? I think LA is another team. I think that's basically off for like just about 2 weeks. And
the Devils are off for a while. Thank God.
Well, not real. Yeah. But this is interesting. The Rangers PDO, by the way, at the last 10 games, guys, is, get this. I don't believe it either, but it is true. It is only 100.1. So they were up around like about 103 at even strength up until about 10 games ago. So that actually has come all the way down. It's now down overall to 101.4. So it's still high. They still have like a somewhat outrageous shooting percentage, but it's actually starting to somewhat come into line like it did a couple seasons ago when they went on that run and Zibanejad had like 600 jabillion points against the Flyers. But it's true. I mean, they're one of those teams, and yes, I understand. We talked about it earlier with Anaheim. What is the one common thread between a team like Anaheim and a team like the Rangers? Goaltending.
Yeah.
You have guys like John Gibson and Igor Shesterkin that can sit there and post like an 840, 850 high danger save percentage, which, by the way, is insane. Or they can have above a 900 penalty kill save percentage and absolutely buoy your team at their lowest points. And that means a lot, especially now. I mean, look, the reason why the Edmonton Oilers, I mean, we said it at least 5 or 6 times on the show. Their goaltending is horrendous.
Yeah.
No
they
bueno.
Can't make that. How many teams you see, it's like, oh, they got pretty good analytics, pretty good, numbers, and they just their goaltending cannot find that extra save anywhere. And that's why they're not.
It's just not there. It's just not there for them.
So one team that I want your opinions on. Exactly. Like, I love seeing the resurgence from Kopitar and Jonathan Quick, but it feels more like a nostalgic feel-good story as opposed that people are talking about because of the names involved, as opposed to a team that really can make a run. Because if there's one team, like Jim, you talked about worrying about Anaheim a bit. If there's one team that's currently sitting in a playoff spot that I see by the end of this season being out, it's LA.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I could see LA out. No doubt. I mean, I agree with you. I think it's because of Quick having a resurgence. I mean, Cal Peterson's there as well with the tandem as well. But yeah.
Hey, another former Sabre.
But I think the addition of Philip Deneau has really been, I wouldn't say underlooked, but I would say it's helped Kopitar be Kopitar.
We thought it was going to be a mess.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's allowed Kopitar to be himself, and Dustin Brown's like putting puck, and now Quentin Byfield's back. Now let's see what happens with with them there, with him. But yeah, I agree. I mean, and Doughty's having a great year and quietly hit 1,000 games played in the National Hockey League. we'll see where it goes.
How about Victor Arvidsson, guys?
Yeah, I mean Victor Arvidsson another guy that left Nashville. Another guy that got traded from Nashville. We're like, okay, what are they doing here with Nashville now? He's playing well. To me, they took advantage of teams that were struggling in the standings. Calgary was going through a slump. Edmonton was going through that slump. And they took advantage of it. I want to see if they can keep it up now that Calgary's starting to find their game again. Because that's a team you're going to want to watch the second half of the season. Because obviously Andrew Mangiapane continues to be crazy on the road with 20 points in 25 games. It's ridiculous, like what he does on the road. He only has 4 points at home. Like, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't get that mindset. Or how that happened. Not the mindset, but how that happens. It's astounding to me whenever you see like a discretion like that big home and away. Like how do you really just hate having that pressure of performing at home that much? Or
it's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Here's a question. Like, they called him up a couple weeks ago. He ended up scoring a goal in a game. Do you think for LA, if they want to continue being where they are, they have to just run with Byfield in their lineup in a top 6 spot?
Yes.
Rather than keep playing this up and down between LA and Ontario?
Because guess what? That's the same strategy the Islanders need to get back in the playoff race. They need to play their young guns in the top 6. But we know Lou and Barry are stuck in their ways of this because they've, they signed these guys to contracts they probably shouldn't have signed them to. Paul Mary, but
one goal,
exactly. Like, come on, you got to trust Wallstrom and Bellows. But I agree with the Kings. I think Byfield's got to be in there. I mean, if you talk to like Dennis Bernstein and stuff, he's like this. They're ahead of schedule right now. They probably won't continue on this track, but LA's in good hands if they can have Byfield play the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I mean, I get he's only 19. He turns 20 in August.
Yeah, but it's a young man's league.
Exactly, and he's shown, like when he's played in the 6 games he's played this year, he's only averaging like around 9 minutes a night.
Yeah, got to move him up.
He had one outlier where he got almost 15 minutes, but yeah, it's like, and it's against that Island. It was against that Islanders team,
and he scored.
And exactly. And then there you go. He's just here. And it's at the point where, yeah, you have to just run with it and see what the kid can do. He is your future. He is very talented. I know. And I know there's fans for some reason, because the young man's league and top 3 picks are just expected to just come in right away. And there's a lot of fans. Because I know in Vegas, before he got traded, Peyton Krebs was viewed as like, why isn't he up on the main roster producing like this big star should? It doesn't come like that when they play 4 games here, 2 games here, 3 games here. Byfield, I feel like, yeah, I get you're fighting for a playoff spot, and usually to be like, well, wait until they're out of it type of thing. But no, put the talent where the talent can thrive. You know who would put the talent where talent can thrive?
Gerard Gallant.
The 2021-22 Jack Adams.
Actually, wait. Before you say Gerard Gallant, I think Mike Sullivan does the same thing because he's doing it in Pittsburgh right now. Yeah. Evan Rodriguez, who would have thought he'd be doing what he was doing?
I mean, anybody Buffalo who watched Sabres. Him on the ice in Buffalo
exactly.
knew this shit. You play him with Eichel, he produced. But it was one of those. But yeah, it's just at the point with LA, you put him there, and then that is your chance. But other than that, I mean, guys, when you look at up and down the standings, you look up and down the league and what we've seen. Is there any player that's kind of surprisingly put a team on his back so much, and the reason they're having success that jumps out to you? I mean, in LA, in St. Louis, it's the goaltending has just come out of nowhere. In his 15 games, Husso has looked really good. Binnington isn't even a
thought
anymore. I mean, he's there, but Husso, I mean, sub 2 goals against. He's playing lights out. And it's like, he's a big reason. But a goalie that, man, am I surprised. When we bashed this too when it happened. Freddie Anderson is at a 2. A 2.01 goals against. Does that surprise you at all? Do you think this is something that's sustainable for him and for the Hurricanes the rest of the year, for him to be putting up that number and the numbers he has so far this year? I mean, a 929 save percentage, 2.01 goals against. Like, no one saw that.
Well, I mean, considering where he was coming from, Toronto, the defense that never was in front of him. Now he's got a defense right now. I mean, it's a great defense in front of him. Maybe it wasn't Freddie in Toronto. Maybe it was the fact that Toronto can't play defense. I think that was the bigger issue, and that's their underlying problem right now. That's a team that's always overhyped, I think, no matter where they are in the standings, because they need to win a Stanley Cup. But back to Freddie, I think he's playing well. I think, to me, the bigger surprise is Antti Raanta in Carolina, to be honest, the way he's been playing for them there, too, because, he's allowed Freddie to have some time off and picking up some wins.
Yeah, and he's a guy that was always hurt.
Yeah.
Every time, like when he was in Arizona, like it was just like, you just think, and when he was in New York, you're just like, all right, he's got this chance. You think can be the guy. When he's fully healthy, he's capable. But that's the problem. He was never fully healthy. Like, he sneezed the wrong day and he threw out his back the wrong way. So it's nice to see. Like, Raanta is a feel-good story to me. Whenever I see players that have been just injury-riddled, it always feels nice. Even at 32 years old, granted, he's only played 11 games, but he's in a role, I think, in Carolina that really suits him at this point with his age.
What about a guy like Anthony Duclair? I mean, that guy is playing really well and found a home in Florida. I mean, so many teams. He had so many chances, so many places, and it felt like when he got to Florida, it was like, all right, this is the last chance, kid. You better figure it out. And now he's playing with probably maybe the Art Ross and Hart Trophy winner and Huberdeau in that line with Reinhart. That line is, Bennett, that line is so good right now.
And you know what people say that really pisses me off? Well, he's only doing it because of who he's playing with. Who cares? That's the point.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing with good players. I mean, when he was playing with good players in Arizona, he was putting up numbers too.
Remember when him and Domi were just going off?
Exactly.
Yeah. People forget this.
They were good together. They had chemistry. And then what Arizona do? Piss off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Like, I
Even
hate
in
that
Ottawa,
argument.
he put up some decent numbers when he was playing with the right people.
But Chris and I talked about it last week. Nothing bothers me more in hockey than when you have that argument from anyone where they go, well, let's see how this player does on a line without X. No, I don't want to see that. I want to see him with X because it works.
Yeah, it does. I mean, in the Leafs case, Michael Bunting with Austin Matthews.
It was like Zach Hyman with Austin Matthews. It freaking worked.
Works.
It works, man.
Wait, why? Hockey is a sport, and we're running out of time here. We're getting close to the end, but I feel like we can do a whole episode. There's a sport that likes to get in its own damn way and try and fix what isn't broken. And with lines, rather than have one line, like a top line that scares the living hell out of everyone.
Yo, the A line.
They try and mix it up. And it's like, why would you do that? Like, Florida, exactly. Why would you break it? Why would anybody? Yeah, you point to Elia. She's that's a perfect example. Like, back in the Colorado heyday, Alex Tanguay. People were like, yeah, he needs to anchor his own line. No,
no way.
No, never. Alex Tanguay should never have anchored his own line. But he was so good with the players he played with. Like, you saw when he ended up going to Calgary. It didn't work.
No, it didn't.
He had some good seasons. Like, I think he had a near 70-point season with Calgary. But the dude was a perennial all-star in Colorado because he was put in situations that he thrived. He just absolutely thrived. And I don't get why, when you're playing, like he was put with players like Sakic, he was put with players like Forsberg, and that's what you needed. Not he's the star attraction. I'll use an example. Like Ville Leno worked in Philly because of who he was put with. He was put with a Danny Briere. He was put with a Claude Giroux. He was put with a Jeff Carter, a Mike Richards. You make him the guy, fail.
Big time fail. Big time fail. Well, I always say this. You know, the big thing that always, you know, irks me the wrong way is when you have these top end draft picks and you put them on like that third, fourth line, give them those type of minutes. Those aren't the players you should be playing with. Perfect example is Nino Niederreiter when he's with the Islanders. When he goes to Minnesota, he thrives. He's thriving in Carolina because he's playing with the right players. Don't expect him to put up the numbers he did when he's playing with third and fourth line players. You got to put him with the top six because that's where he's going to thrive. So, and you could see this around the league constantly. Coaches make the same mistake, and I don't understand why they're not fixing it.
Exactly. That's kind of, I'm so over that mentality. I'm so over the hatred and the doubtfulness of Gerard Gallant being a great coach. I'm so over the Arizona Coyotes. But you know what I'm not over? Tuning in and being here every Tuesday night on Full Press Hockey Weekly.
Yeah.
With myself, Jim, and Chris. You can find Chris on Twitter at Chris Wassel DFS. You can find Jim on Twitter at Jim Biringer. You can find our work at fullpresshockey.com. You can catch us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. You can catch me on Fridays at 3 every other Friday for the time being, short time while my work schedule kind of ramps up. For Mike Saves Hockey, because you know how I'd save hockey today?
What?
I would save hockey by not letting the Arizona Coyotes play in a 5,000-seat arena.
I like it.
Keggerland!
That's all I need. That's my show. Exactly.
Yo.
You're playing at a community center at that point, man.
Yeah.
Exactly. Don't do it. It's bad.
It's like the old. It's like the old Rathskeller at Montclair State University. It's like, here we go. We're gonna watch some hockey after we go to Yogi Bear Arena, and then we're gonna down some bears.
No.
True story.
You know, it's best for business to move the Arizona Coyotes.
100%. And that's where we're going to end it as we close out the show on the 29th anniversary of Gary Bettman becoming the first and only commissioner of the NHL.
Jerry.
Until next week, guys, take care, stay safe. We'll talk to you again soon.